Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Nitai Guru Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gauri Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Astotara Satashi Srimati Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Leela Prabhishta Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Astotara Satashi Srimati Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai अनंत बड़ी वैष्णव वृंद की जय इस्कॉन डिविटी फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय समावेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Shaiva Naruttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vanchakalpacharubhyascha Kripasandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ukam karoti vachalam pangam langhayate kirim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinatharan. Thank you all for joining the Srimad Bhagavatam class today. So we will be continuing to speak from the third canto, chapter 8, text 6 and 7. I'll share the screen and then I'll read the verse purport. Maybe I'll read. There are two verses, a verse and a purport. Speak, and then the next verse and purport and speak. Both have purports. Thank you. Previous verse. Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 8, text 6. So firstly, word-to-word translation. Let me see if I can move this window out of the way. Okay. So very beautiful verses. So the conversation is happening between Maitreya and Vidura. So muhuhu again and again, grananti glorifying, vachasa by words, anuraga with great affection, skalat padena with symmetric rhythm, Ashya of the Lord, Vithani activities, Tajñaha, those who know the pastimes, Kirita. So the first two lines are describing about the devotees, the Bhagavatas, and the second two lines in this verse are describing the form of the Lord, Sankarshana. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mostly focuses on the first two lines. Yeah. So now, Kirita, helmets, Sahasra, thousands, Mani, Praveka, glowing effulgence of the valuable stones. Pradyatita, emanating from. My vision is not so great. Uddama, raised. See, this is better. Yeah. Pana, hoods, Sahasram, thousands. So, as I said, the last two verses, the last two lines are describing the form of the Lord Sankarshan. Translation. The four Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. So, as I said, these are the first two lines. And Prabhupada mostly focuses on these two lines in the purport. At that time, Lord Sankarshana, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, although in this purport that word doesn't come with the translation verse, but Prabhupada is saying the Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by a devotee, by devotees. Profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. Note the words, Prabhupada's words. He doesn't say affection and love for the Lord. He could have said that also, but he says affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. The profusion of such elected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. There are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord would offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of the affection, of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. Wonderful. So again, this section is a discussion between Maitreya and Vidura. And here, for some of us, this might be new. So here we are hearing, in this section, we are hearing another parampara of the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Like Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions to Arjuna that, like I have spoken this Bhagavad Gita to you, I have spoken this Bhagavad Gita earlier also, the sun god Vivashwan. So typically, we know of Sukadeva Goswami speaking Maharaj Parikshit Srimad Bhagavatam. But we also understand that the Vedas, the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, they exist co-eternally with the Lord. So it is not that this was the first time that Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. Srimad Bhagavatam is eternally existing. And recently, in preparation for Bhadra Purnima, His Holiness Prabhupada Maharaj was giving a presentation in Naperville. And he was sharing how the Lord spoke the Bhagavatam himself. The Lord himself spoke the Bhagavatam to all the four heads of the Sampradayas that we hear about, right? We hear about four bona fide Vaishnava Sampradayas. Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, in which we are in, Kumara Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, and Rudra Sampradaya. So here we are actually getting a direct reference. Lord Sankarshana is speaking. The next verse is talking about that. Lord Sankarshana is speaking this Bhagavatam to Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumara then speaks to Sankhayana Muni. Sankhayana Muni then speaks to Parashara and Brihaspati. And then from Parashara and Brihaspati, Maitreya hears. And then Maitreya is speaking to Vidura. So this will come in the next verse, next few verses. So this is the parampara. Yeah. And then similarly, the Lord spoke the Bhagavatam to Lakshmi Devi. And then the Lord spoke Bhagavatam to Lord Shiva. So anyway, when I was hearing all that, I was realizing, like Srila Prabhupada would say sometimes we know a little bit, like, the ABCDs of Krishna consciousness, and we think we know everything, like the frog in the well. So that was, new information that I learned a few weeks ago, how this Bhagavatam was spoken by the Lord himself to these heads of the Sampradaya. Anyway, so that's the whole backdrop of this section. So now coming to the purport here, the Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. Profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. So if you notice the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that almost 75% of the Srimad Bhagavatam are prayers. And of course, there are different devotees offering prayers. Yeah, if we begin from the first canto, the first stutis, the Kunti Maharani begins her prayers. Then Bhishma Dev offers his prayers. So in the first canto. So these are prayers in glorification of the Lord. So broadly, we can say there are two kinds of prayers in Bhagavatam. Prayers that are glorifying the Supreme Lord. And then we also see prayers that are glorifying the devotees. Like in the first canto, Shaunaka Adi Rishis, they are glorifying Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami is glorifying Sukadev Goswami. So there are two broad categories we can say in Bhagavatam. Prayers that are glorifying the Lord, and then prayers that are glorifying the devotees. The Lord is glorifying the devotees sometimes. The devotees are glorifying the devotees sometimes. Like that. So prayers is a very deep topic. Gaudiya Vaishnava Abhidhanaya is a book. It talks about the 10 different kinds of prayers. We'll not have time to go into all that. But broadly, we can say there are standard prayers and spontaneous prayers. So what are spontaneously offered, the word anuraga is here. What are spontaneously offered by the pure devotees of the Lord, they can become our standard prayers. Yeah. So we don't have the, purity or the ability even to compose prayers. As Prabhupada is saying, we are not profused with devotion. Neither do we have devotion, nor do we have ability. So it behooves us to just understand the prayers of these pure devotees. and recite them, make them our own. And there are so many prayers in the Bhagavatam. It depends, for different, time, place, and circumstances. Different prayers can be chosen. They can be offered depending on, what's going on in our life right now. Some prayers might be more, relevant for us. But the main point here the word is Vachasa Anuraga. Yeah. So Sanat Kumara is offering these, spontaneous transcendental prayers. And then another word that is also important is Tat Nya. So he knows the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So he's able to suitably glorify. And then, of course, there is the presentation of it, Skalat Padena. So the words are beautiful, the heart is beautiful, the presentation is beautiful. Anyway, so this is a devotee's expert, Daksha. So Sanat Kumara is offering prayers like that. So his heart is suffused, it's infused with love and affection for the devotional service of the Lord. Similarly, so what's inside comes out. What's inside comes out. So we see the prayers of the sages at Naimisharanya. So what's inside, their gratitude, their appreciation, and what they understand, the role that Sutta Goswami is playing in their life. So there is a knowledge that, so there is a realization of it. And then, so they're offering suitable prayers to Sutta Goswami. Yeah. So anyway, they were sharing. So the spontaneous loving prayers of these great devotees, they can become our standard prayers. Standard prayers meaning we learn them, they become a part of our sadhana bhakti. We narrate them, we take inspiration from them. And yeah, it's the Lord is very happy to hear. Yeah, well, like for example, to hear a prayer from Jagadananda Das or a prayer from Prahlad Maharaj. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Prahlad Maharaj. So offering prayers of great devotees to the Lord is a nice practice. And then Prabhupada is writing here, there are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord would offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. So immediately two persons come to mind in Srimad Bhagavatam, of course, Dhruva and Prahlad. And Dhruva, of course, he was properly trained and by Narada Muni, and he perfected his life in a very brief time. But when the Lord appeared, he was stunned. He was stunned, and he was just a small boy. He didn't know what to say and how to speak his heart. But the Supreme Lord, he touched his conch on Dhruva's head, and then beautiful prayers began to emanate from his mouth. Dhruva Stuti, 12 prayers are there, but they are very, very profound. So that's what Prabhupada is writing here. There are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord would offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. And then, of course, Prahlad Maharaj's prayers are there. Yeah, and then, of course, in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, there are so many young, small boys. Recently, I was hearing about Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, that. And finally, in other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. Yeah. So, and this is the reason why, we are encouraged to just understand the prayers of our Vaishnava Acharyas, understand the prayers of Bhagavatam, and offer them. Yeah, as I said, neither is our devotion, fully developed, nor are we, and I can speak for myself at least, are we, scholars of Sanskrit or Bengali, etc. But some devotees are. I'll give you a short, story. Yesterday, day before, I was hearing His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj. He was speaking about Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And as he was preparing for the class, he was sharing that he reached out to Hari Parshad Prabhu, who we all know, a disciple of His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj, called the poet. He's part of the Shastrik Advisory Committee. So he asked Hari Parshad Prabhu, are there any references, prayers about Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, etc., like that? And then Maharaj was sharing that he shared with him a couple of prayers. He said, here you go. And he said, and why don't I compose a prayer in honor of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami? So spontaneously right then, Hari Parshad Prabhu, he composed a prayer for Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. I don't remember the prayer, but it's there in the lecture. And he sent it to Maharaj. Anyway, so we are not like that. But it is sufficient. It is sufficient to understand the prayers of our Vaishnava Acharyas, which are there in the Vaishnava bhajans. I mean, if the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is beyond our reach, which happens sometimes, we struggle with Sanskrit or this or that. But our Vaishnava Acharyas have written prayers in very simple language, Bengali, a very simple language, which we can, memorize and explain. All the purports of the Vedic knowledge, they can be explained through our Vaishnava bhajans. Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all these Acharyas, Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas that they've written. So we can really, go deep. I mean, as I said, 75% of the Bhagavatam is prayers. And prayers is one of the 9 processes of devotional service, Vandanam. Navapita Bhakti, it's part of devotional service. So we can memorize them and we can understand how these prayers are so powerful. Bhajendra, who in his previous life, he memorized, those stotras. They came in handy to him when he was caught by the crocodile. And then, of course, finally, the prayer that we all have, that we can chant very easily, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Just a simple prayer to Srimati Radharani to engage us in Krishna service. So like that. So that's the topic about prayers. Much, much, much more can be said. But the main point here is when there is love in the heart, like here, first in Sanat Kumara's case, love in the heart for the Lord, and the prayers flow from them. Similarly, when there is love in the heart for the devotees, offerings flow from there. And as we have heard from Ramayana, from Nityananda Pran Prabhu, and others, prayers can be even like proses, like Vedanta Deshikas, they can be proses. So even your letters can be considered as prayers. It doesn't have to have all the perfect meter and things like that. Yeah, that is also there. But even a simple letter, which is written in prose form, can be a prayer. Yeah, the Vyasa Puja offering, for example, can be a prayer. The regular communication with the spiritual master or the devotees, they can be prayers. Anyway, so it's a deep topic, but essentially, what's inside comes out. And while we are still not in so much of a pure state, we can read the prayers of the perfected souls and offer those prayers. It's fine. Okay, so that's the first verse. Next verse, this is also very beautiful. I will just read the translation in the purport. Lord Sankarsana. So now Sanat Kumara has offered the prayers, and the Lord, he has a heart. We were hearing yesterday Advaita Acharya and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes from Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's just ecstatic how the Lord is glorifying Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya is glorifying the Lord. And the devotees that are witnessing all this, they're like stunned, like, wow. So similarly, we can witness here the exchange between the Lord and his pure devotees. So Sanat Kumara has offered prayers, and then now Lord Sankarshana is reciprocating. Lord Sankarshana thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, the great sage Sanat Kumara, who had already taken the vow of renunciation. Sanat Kumara also, in his turn, when inquired of by Sankhayana Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Sankarshana. So again, this obviously you can imagine what this purport is going to focus on from Para. So Sankarshana spoke it to Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumara spoke it to Sankhayana Muni. And as I said, in the next purports in verses, Sankhayana Muni spoke it to Parashara Brihaspati. Parashara spoke it to Maitreya, and Maitreya speaking to Vidura. So Prabhupada obviously writes, this is the way of the Parampara system. Although Sanat Kumara, the well-known great saintly Kumara, was in the perfect stage of life, still he heard the message of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarshana. This is very important, as it is mentioned in Bhagavatam. Tadvaga Visarga Janataga Viplava 156, I think. Tadvaga Visarga Janataga Viplava Yashmin Patishloka Abhatyavadyapi Namanyananta Shakrishonkitani Shinmanti Gayanti Grananti Sadhavaha. So this Bhagavatam is heard, should be heard by Janata Agha Viplava Agha, who have contaminations in their heart, so that there is a revolution in their heart and their heart become purified. So this Bhagavatam should be heard by such persons from pure devotees. And it is also heard by the sadhakas, by the already purified souls also, they also relish Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself would hear Bhagavatam with the devotees in Jagannath Puri. Yeah. So this is the way of the Parampara. And so Sanat Kumara is Prabhupada writing, although he is already a perfected saintly person, but he is still hearing Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarshana. Similarly, when he was questioned by Sankhayana Rishi, he spoke to him the same message he had heard from Lord Sankarshana. In other words, unless one hears from the proper authority, one cannot become a preacher. Now, Prabhupada is making a very important point. In devotional service, therefore, 2 items out of the 9, Shravanam Kirtanam, namely hearing and chanting, are most important. Without hearing nicely, one cannot preach the message of Vedic knowledge. So yeah, so anyway, many things can be said here. But again, so the Srimad Bhagavatam is, firstly, it is eternal. And the same message that is heard by Sanat Kumara, perhaps millions of years ago, the same Bhagavatam. Of course, as sometimes some people ask, is it the same Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses, how many verses? Anyway, that's a detail. Some renditions of Bhagavatam may have more verses, less verses, etc. The Bhagavatam is heard across the planets. And in the higher realms of Bhagavatam, maybe even more, is more verbose. But it doesn't matter. The principle is Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is heard by perfected souls. It should be heard by sadhakas. Yeah. So that's the point. And it is timeless. It is eternal. The message is as relevant as it was millions of years ago as it is today. Like Bhagavad Gita, Lord spoke it to Vivashwan, although we understand that he spoke it 5,000 years ago, but he spoke it to Vivashwan millions of years ago. So we don't need to change we don't need to change the message of the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. We should present it as it is. Yeah, based on time, place, and circumstances, we might explain it so that people in general can understand things. But the core message should not be changed. And this is the way of the Parampara. Yeah, we may say, well, geez, the problems of life, the problem that people face now are different than the problems that people faced earlier. No, according to Bhagavad Gita, there are only four main problems of life: Janna, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. So the principles in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they are eternal. Yeah. People were dying earlier, they're dying now. These four problems were there earlier, they are there now. The hearts are contaminated of conditioned souls. Conditioned souls' hearts are contaminated. They were contaminated earlier, they're contaminated now. And the process of purification is the same in the Bhagavatam. So we should be careful to receive it as it is, and then just repeat it as it is. Shinvanti, Gayanti, Grinanti, Sadhava. Hearing, Shinvanti, Gayanti, then repeating. And then, of course, Grinanti, taking it in our heart. Yeah. Similarly, when he was questioned by Sankhya Rishi, he spoke to him the same message he had heard from Lord Sankarshan. In other words, unless one hears from the proper authority, one cannot become a preacher. So Srila Prabhupada was very concerned about this, that, people in this age, they typically have a tendency to change things, let there be something new, make this adjustment, change this, change that. But Srila Prabhupada said, if you just preserve what I've given you, just even preserve it, don't even expand it, just preserve it as it is. That will be very powerful. Yeah. And if you manufacture something, then what happens is, we lose the potency, that the message, individually we lose the potency if we don't repeat the message that we have heard as it is. We lose the potency, and then we are scratching our heads. Why is the heart of people not getting transformed? Well, just repeat the message of the Bhagavatam, and of course, with faith and experience, that will also have a great impact. If there is faith, if we have deep faith in that message that we are presenting, and we have realizations to go along with that, we are applying those messages in our life, and we share from that experience, that has an impact on people as well. Yeah. So anyway, so this is the way of devotional service. There are many, many verses glorifying this process. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaita kathita artha prakashante mahatmah. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau. So one who has implicit faith, the Supreme Lord, Yasya deve para bhaktir, and this process of devotional service, pure devotional service, and the spiritual master, into his heart, the imports of the Vedic knowledge are revealed. So everything unravels, and then we can present this message properly. And as we hear, so there was a deep concern we were hearing recently about the Acharyas, the Goswamis. So there was a deep concern as to how the legacy of this Bhagavatam and this message of Lord Chaitanya would continue generation after generation. So, of course, Lord Chaitanya had direct disciples, Rupa Sanatan, whom he trained, and then Jiva Goswami. And then Jiva Goswami was sent by Lord Nityananda. So it's a nice pastime, actually. So Jiva Goswami, with skipping many details, Jiva Goswami, he came to Navadvip once, and Lord Nityananda also was there. And so Lord Nityananda, he gave him, the first tour, Navadvip Mandala Parikrama. He gave this little Jiva Goswami Navadvip Mandala Parikrama. He took him around. He showed him the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you can imagine, he must have been so ecstatic, Lord Nityananda giving him a tour. And of course, Jiva Goswami, he only had darshan of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was just 3 years old, very young in Ramakeli, when Lord came to meet Rupa Sanatan, which is a young boy, and he saw Lord Chaitanya from his mother's lap, and his mother would, tell him about Lord Chaitanya. And then eventually his father passed away. And eventually Lord Nityananda took him under his wings. And so when he was a youth, he came to Navadvip, and Lord Nityananda gave him a tour. And Mahaprabhu was still around. Mahaprabhu was still there in Jagannath Puri, just nearby. And Jiva Goswami had a desire. I mean, this is wonderful, Adi Leela. You have given me, everything about the Adi Leela. But Mahaprabhu is unwinding his pastimes. Can I go to Jagannath Puri? Can you take me there? But Lord Nityananda, who is known to be very merciful, he said, no, I am skipping many details. He said, actually, the Lord has given you your family, Vrindavan, as your place. Go quickly to Vrindavan. And Jiva Goswami, he accepted the order of Lord Nityananda. So the point being, Lord Nityananda felt it was more important to prepare Jiva Goswami for his future service of carrying the legacy of Lord Chaitanya than going to Jagannath Puri, not even wasting a minute. You can say, well, geez, he could just spend, a couple of weeks, couple of months. What's going to go? What is the loss? Couple of weeks, couple of months. But Lord Nityananda told him that go on to Vrindavan. But before he go to Vrindavan, he sent him to Banaras, Varanasi, to Madhusudan Vachaspati. And he said, you learn everything. Sarvam Bhattacharya's disciple. You learn everything. All the different darshans. He was a scholar, Jiva Goswami, so that you will know, you will know the Purva Paksha, you will know how to refute, in the future, if anybody's, people may present different things. So anyway, so the point I'm making is Lord Nityananda, he considered that very, very important to preserve the legacy of Lord Chaitanya, to preserve the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and prepare Jiva Goswami accordingly. And, and he told Jiva Goswami that. And then Jiva Goswami proceeded to Banaras. And within, a few weeks, within a few months, he perfected everything. Of course, he spent a couple of years in Banaras. And he made such an impression there. Everyone was just, their jaws dropped to see this young boy. And even in Banaras, in the university, even now, apparently, there is a Jiva Goswami department. But anyway, so Jiva Goswami, he was prepared. Lord Nityananda prepared him. And then he said, you go to Rupa Sanatan. And then Rupa Sanatan further, they were engaged in writing literature, the message of Lord Chaitanya. I'm talking about this parampara system. That's why I'm talking about these things. So while they were writing, they understood that Jiva Goswami was a great scholar, and they were also training him. So they would ask him, engage him to proofread some of their writings. So in this way, they trained him personally in the message of Lord Chaitanya. And then Jiva Goswami, in turn, he trained, as we heard, Shyamananda Pandit, Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and then he sent them across here and there. Srinivas Acharya, we know the pastime of Srinivas Acharya learning Bhagavatam, the efforts he had to make to learn Bhagavatam. He went, from Vaishnava to Vaishnava, and all the Vaishnavas were disappearing. He would get, dreams, okay, go here. And by the time he would reach there, that Vaishnava would have disappeared. And then he was instructed, okay, go here, like that. Anyway, so this is the way of the parampara, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, to hear this Bhagavatam message from the Bhagavatas, and then repeat the message, carry the torch forward without any adulterations, without any mixing and our own agendas and interpretations, etc. Okay, so I'll pause there. It's 8:10. I leave some time for discussion. I know people, if people want to log off, they can log off. There are some devotees from India also who have joined, I think. So if there is anything you can share or ask. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I was just thinking about the first verse about the prayers, right? I mean, lot. I mean, you said, yeah, majority of three-fourths of the Bhagavatam is filled with prayers, right? When
Yeah.
we see these demigod prayers or the Queen Kunti prayers or any Brahma's prayers, or I mean, it looks like they're all repetitive. I mean, sometimes it looks like that, right? So, all, I mean, they talk about greatness of the Lord and all. So, I mean, what should be the lesson for us, or what should be the mood for us to when we are reading through those prayers, right? So, I mean, generally it looks like the devotees talks about the greatness of the Lord, right? That's how generally I see. I mean, how great Supreme Lord is, how is. That's how I mean, majority of the cases, not every case, but yeah. So, what should be our mood while we are reading those prayers of the devotees?
It's a very wonderful question. Very wonderful question. Yeah. Firstly, we should see it in a very personal way. Yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. You know, every Vaishnava, as you're saying, there are, there are different aspects to their prayers, actually. Yeah. One aspect is glorifying the Lord. Sambandha Gyan, you can say, right? How is everything related to everything? They glorify the Lord. Yeah. That seems sort of standard or same across the boards. But then also, if you read carefully, of course, even the presentation of those same aspects are different, right? Like, for example, Gajendra. If you read, Gajendra is a good example. Gajendra, somehow in his prayers are more like Upanishadic prayers, right? He doesn't address the Lord directly by his name. He's glorifying the Lord's qualities and his attributes. And so any person who is intelligent enough, he will understand that he's talking about the Supreme Lord. So even when he's making such prayers, none of the demigods come. Demigods don't come to rescue him because they understand that Gajendra is not calling us. He's calling the Lord. But all those prayers are like Isopanishad. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat. So the Lord is addressed in a third person or in a pronoun kind of a way. They are not direct names of the Lord. If you note that. So Gajendra's prayers are like that. So there are nuances. Yes, but he's also glorifying the Lord's attributes, but he does it in that way. Brahma does it in another way. Kunti Maharani, being a woman, she does it in another way. Prahlad does it in another way. Dhruva does it in another way. Vritrasura does it in another way. Bali Maharaj, like that. So there are nuances if you notice. But for that, as you're saying, firstly, for that, we need to come to a personal idea, conception. Oh, okay, this is Kunti Maharani now. Kunti Maharani is speaking. So because when the Vaishnavas are speaking, they are revealing their heart. So it's a beautiful sight, actually. Prabhupada writes in some of his purports that when a Vaishnava share their heart, it's wonderful to witness. So in that way, when we read personally, oh, let me see what Kunti Maharani, what are her realizations? What is she saying? And what is the Lord saying back to her? So if you catch those nuances, there are nuances, there is variety, there is enjoyment. Otherwise, as you're saying, it's like, okay, it's same old, same old. Yeah, some of the prayers are same old, we can say. Yeah. But if you start, reading, these things carefully, then you will find the differences. Yeah. The allegories are different. Right? Like Kunti Maharani, she says, for example, she gives the example of, a drama and a curtain. I mean, you are like an actor. People see the actor in the drama, but they don't know the person behind, the acting. So she uses such words to convey how the Lord, everybody thinks they are seeing the Lord, for that person, but they are not seeing him as he is. Anyway, so but your point is well taken. The main thing is personalism, I think. And before we read the prayers, try to meditate on, wow, and who is this person in Kunti Maharani, aunt, Pandavas. So her heart, her mood, as Prabhupada is saying, her specific profusion of love is different. Her anuraga is different. Her rasa is different, right? Vatsalya and Dhruva's and Prahlad's rasa is different. Their prayers are different. So yeah, if you approach, from a personalism, and if you approach from a perspective of rasa, you will see the differences and the nuances. Like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he writes Chaitanya Charitamrita in one way. Vrindavan Das Thakur is like, okay, spontaneous. I don't explain. If people get it, they get it. If they don't get it, I'm sorry. Too bad. Chaitanya Mangala Lochan Das Thakur is like another ecstasy. The same subject matter, Lord Chaitanya. But you can see, wow, like Vrindavan Das Thakur, the way he writes, and then Chaitanya Mangala, the way Lochan Das Thakur writes. Like that. So personalism, essentially. So look at the person and then pray to that person. Yeah, almost we need to understand the Vaishnava's heart. We need their mercy. So we even before we approach the prayers, the best thing is, please give me a mercy that I can understand what you're saying here, what you're intending to say. Anyway, so there are many things that can be said. That's a good one.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prabhu.
Nice question.
Yeah, so second part, just, when we offer prayers, because generally I see majority of the cases is they talk about the greatness of the Lord, then they go to their personal relationship and all, right, with the with the
Right.
Lord. So,
Right.
when we offer prayers, when we repeat those prayers, right, whatever, acharyas or your devotees, do we need to do that way, or we can, I know we do, we will not have that time, lot of times, so we just pray, offer a couple of prayers, whatever we remember.
No, that's a good point. Prayers, as you're saying, prayers is a very deep topic. Yeah, you don't just come with your requisition list. Hey God, Lord, I want this, right? But as you say, even when Indra is very clear, he wants something, but he'll not just like he will say this and that and in thousand things he'll say, and then he says, oh, by the way, can you take care of Rudrasura? Can you do something? Yeah. So unfortunately, we are all rushed for time. But as you're saying, there is a sequence also. Firstly, you offer glorification, then comes sort of your vigyapti, your request and things like that. Yeah. So it all depends, as you're saying, what can we do? It all depends on on the time that you have. Yeah. Yeah, we may not have time to, sort of, for example, recite all the, hundreds of prayers of Prahlad that he offers to Lord Nrsingadev, or so we'll have to see. Yeah, based on time, place, and circumstances. But the main point is what we learned from pure devotional service, pure devotees prayers is, what to ask for. We follow. If we get that part right, how we ask it and all that, that's, as you're saying, we are all children. We may not ask it the proper way. You follow. That's the detail. But what we should ask, that should be very clear from the devotees of the from the prayers of the pure devotees. So we learn what is worth asking for, what is not worthy asking for. So if you have limited time and capacity to understand things, at least let's get that right. What is worthy of asking? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, bro.
Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadish kamaye, or ainandatana kinkaram, patitam mam vishame bhavadado. It's simple. In that prayer, it's simple Sikshastakam prayers, everything is there. Those two prayers. And of course, the eighth prayer. If we are advanced like that, we can offer the eighth prayer, things like that. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you all for your time. It was a pleasure. Thank you for engaging me in the service. The verses were beautiful. I was speaking to Yamuna Jeevan yesterday. I mean, I've read this section of Bhagavatam, but I mean, how absent one is. I never realized that, oh, there's this reference to this Bhagavatam being spoken by Sankarsana to Sanat Kumara and all that. I never caught it earlier. But in preparing, you catch more things than when you're reading. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.